Welcome to the Science of Hockey, the podcast where we break down the science behind ice hockey. I'm the analyst, your host, and every week we explore the data, research, and evidence that shape how we play, train, and understand the game of hockey. From biomechanics to performance psychology, we take you beyond the rink and into the research lab, giving you insights that go beyond hearsay and into what really makes the difference on the ice. Whether you're a player, a coach, a parent, or just someone passionate about the sport, we're here to bring you scientifically backed information in a language that's friendly and easy to understand. So grab your skates and let's dive into the science of hockey. Welcome back to the Science of Hockey. I'm the analyst, and today we're diving deep into the data behind injuries in high school and collegiate ice hockey. In this episode, we'll explore how injury rates differ between high school and college levels, the impact of competition versus practice, and which types of injuries are most common among players. This discussion is crucial for understanding how to make the game safer and how injury prevention strategies can be improved for athletes of all ages. Whether you're a coach, parent, or player, there's a lot to learn here about keeping our athletes on the ice and injury-free. So, grab your helmets, and let's get into the science behind hockey injuries.
Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. We are strapping on our helmets and checking out the world of ice hockey injuries.
Oh yeah, we're going beyond those bumps and bruises you see.
Exactly. We're taking a deep dive into a decade's worth of data, and we have this amazing study from high school and college programs across the U.S.
A whole decade,
Yeah, all thanks to the Journal of Athletic Training.
They're the ones who published the study, right?
Yep. So our goal today is to really get a grip on all those forces at play in this well-loved sport.
Really understand what leads to those injuries.
Right. And I got to say, one of the most interesting things that popped right out to me was the difference in injuries between games and practices.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We all know games are going to be more intense.
Way more.
But seeing the numbers like this from the study, it's really eye-opening.
Makes you think.
Across all levels of play, injuries were just so much higher during games.
Significantly higher, yeah.
And what was really crazy was boys' high school hockey.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
The competition injury rate was 8 times higher. 8 times. Compared to practice, that's wild.
That's huge. So what is it about those game situations that just cranks up the risk that much?
It's a great question. And, there's definitely that heightened intensity.
Oh, for sure.
Players are going all out. They want to win.
They're battling for that puck.
Exactly. And those decisions you have to make when you're under that kind of pressure,
Yeah.
well, those can lead to some serious collisions.
Yeah. Split-second decisions, you don't have time to think.
But honestly, I think there's more to it than just the adrenaline.
Really? Like what else could be going on?
Well, this study also pointed to checking, which is allowed in men's hockey, of course, and get this, checking was actually cited more often as a cause of injury in high school boys' games.
That's interesting.
Than college men's games.
Wow. So it's not just allowed or not allowed.
Right. There's got to be something else there.
So you think there's a difference in how checking is coached or even how it's penalized?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe how it's executed too. It's different between those levels.
Yeah, like maybe stricter rules in college or maybe just a different approach to teaching safe checking in high school.
Could be. And that could play a big role in bringing those injuries down, especially for those younger players.
Definitely makes you think about all those coaching philosophies.
And the messages young players are getting about how to play safe.
Right. Responsibility out there on the ice. Now, one thing that really stood out when we looked at different levels of play was men's collegiate hockey.
Oh, yeah. They were at the top, weren't they?
They had the highest overall injury rate in the entire study. What do you think is going on there? Are these guys just bigger, stronger, faster, leading to bigger hits?
Well, I mean, that's definitely part of it, right?
Oh, yeah.
That speed and physicality in men's college hockey, it's intense. But there are other things to consider, too.
But what else could be a factor?
Well, what kind of training are these athletes doing to get ready? Are they prepared for how demanding this sport is physically? And there's also the pressure to perform at such a high level. That could lead to some risky moves on the ice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're playing in front of scouts. You're trying to get to that next level.
Exactly. So it's not just about how strong you are.
It's the whole picture, the athlete, the environment, the pressures they're under.
Right. And that's why research like this is so valuable. It helps us peel back those layers and see the bigger picture.
All those factors that contribute to the risk.
It's complicated.
It is complicated. Now let's talk about something that's been a hot topic lately, concussions.
Oh, yeah.
The study looked at concussions and found different rates between men and women.
Makes sense given how differently they play.
Definitely. Now, we all know concussions can happen in any sport.
Even without contact.
That's true, but in a sport like hockey, where collisions are basically part of the game,
It comes with the territory.
the risk is just higher.
No.
We've made some progress with awareness and diagnosis.
For sure.
But there's so much more to learn about the long-term effects.
And how to keep players safe.
Early detection and proper management are key, but we need more research
Absolutely.
into those concussion mechanisms and better prevention.
Couldn't agree more.
The study also had this really interesting finding that 38% of injuries in women's collegiate hockey competitions
38%.
were from contact with another person.
Wow. And checking isn't allowed in women's hockey.
Exactly. So it makes you wonder, why are there so many contact injuries? Are there loopholes in the rules? Is there more incidental contact happening than we realize?
It really makes you think. And how do we better protect these athletes while keeping the no checking rule?
Right. It's not just about whether checking is allowed or not.
Or to it.
We need to look closer at the types of contact that are happening.
See how those injuries are happening.
And maybe even tweak those rules or how they're enforced.
So they match the goal of a safer game.
Right. Make sure it's a truly safer environment for women's hockey. Wow, this deep dive has already uncovered some fascinating stuff about ice hockey injuries.
It has.
But we've only just started scratching the surface.
There's so much more to explore.
Stay tuned, because we'll be back to dig into potential solutions, the role of training equipment, and the future of safety in this awesome sport.
Can't wait to dive back in. Okay, so we got all this data about hockey injuries. Right? We know how often they happen and what kinds of injuries we see, but how do we actually use this to prevent them? That's the big question.
That's what I'm really interested in. We've talked about the risks, the whole checking debate and concussions, but what can players, coaches, even rule makers actually do to make hockey safer, without taking away what makes it such a great sport?
Well, let's go back to checking for a second. It was a major factor in those high school injuries especially. So what if we completely changed how we teach and practice checking?
Instead of just banning it altogether.
Right? It's not about getting rid of it.
Yeah.
It's about making it safer, more responsible.
So focusing on technique and sportsmanship instead of just aggression.
Exactly. Imagine if we taught players how to check in a way that protects everyone on the ice, both themselves and the other player.
It's almost like a whole new way of thinking about checking.
It is. It's not just an offensive move. It's about understanding the impact on player safety.
And that's where the rules come in, right?
Absolutely. If we penalize unsafe checking consistently and seriously, it shows everyone that player safety is the top priority.
We need to hold players accountable for reckless plays.
And create a culture where skill and clean play are what matter most.
I think that's important at every level of hockey.
It is. But focusing only on checking won't solve everything. What about conditioning? That's a big part of preventing injuries too.
You're right. A well-conditioned athlete is less likely to get hurt in the first place.
They can handle the physical demands, recover faster, and their bodies move better, which all reduces the risk.
So we're talking strength training, flexibility, cardio, all of it.
All of it. It all helps build that foundation so players can take those hits and keep going.
And we can't forget about equipment.
Oh yeah, helmets, padding, skates, they're all crucial.
It's got to be top of the line and fit properly.
If it doesn't fit right, it can actually make things worse.
So we're talking safer checking, strict rules, good conditioning, and proper equipment. That's a pretty good start, right?
It is. It's a solid foundation.
Yeah.
But we can't stop there. The sport is always changing, so we have to stay ahead of the curve.
Always evolving.
Take concussion prevention, for example. We've come a long way, but there's still so much to learn about long-term effects and how to truly prevent them.
New research is coming out all the time.
And that research will lead to better ways to protect players, maybe through better equipment, new diagnostic tools, or even different training techniques.
It's a constant process of learning, adapting, and improving.
Exactly. We can't just implement these strategies and think we're done. We have to keep evaluating them, keep learning, and be ready to change our approach as new challenges come up.
And one of those challenges that the study mentioned was the difference in resources.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Making sure all hockey programs have qualified athletic trainers, good equipment, and solid injury prevention programs.
It's crucial. No matter the size or funding of the program, every athlete deserves the best support to stay healthy.
Exactly. It shouldn't matter if you're playing for a small school or a big university. Everyone deserves the same chance to stay safe. So let's step back for a second. What do you think the future holds for safety in hockey? Are you optimistic that we can make it safer without losing what makes it so exciting?
I am optimistic. I really am. With continued research, new technology, and a real focus on player well-being, I think we can make hockey significantly safer.
That's good to hear.
We're seeing better equipment designs, advances in concussion management, and a better understanding of how injuries happen. It's all contributing to a safer game.
It's not about eliminating all risk.
No, that's impossible in a sport like this.
It's about managing that risk and making player health the priority.
And finding ways to keep the speed, the skill, the passion, all the things that make hockey so great while making it as safe as possible.
And data is key to that.
Absolutely. Studies like the one we're talking about give us incredible insights into those injury trends. They help us figure out where we need to improve and if what we're doing is actually working.
It's all about collecting data, analyzing it, taking action, and then seeing if it worked. Rinse and repeat.
Exactly. And that cycle is how we make progress and make informed decisions about protecting the athletes who love this sport.
It's a team effort. Researchers, doctors, coaches, players, rule makers, all working together to make sure everyone can enjoy the game without getting seriously hurt. This has been a really insightful deep dive, and I think you've done a great job explaining these complex issues and giving us a balanced perspective. But I don't want to just talk at you. I want to hear from you, our listeners. What are your thoughts on all of this? What stuck with you? What questions or concerns do you have? We've really dug deep into this topic, haven't we? We've got all this data about injuries, we've talked about the risks, and even brainstormed some solutions.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
But now I want to hear from you, our listeners. What are your thoughts on making hockey safer, especially at all those different levels of play?
Yeah, what would you change? Any ideas for rule changes or maybe some new training methods?
I mean, there's no magic bullet, right?
No, definitely not. When it comes to hockey safety, there isn't one solution that fits every situation.
Right. It's got to be tailored to each level, whether we're talking little kids just learning to skate or seasoned pros.
Makes sense. I mean, what works for a 10-year-old might not work for someone in the NHL.
So where do we even start? What areas could make the biggest difference?
Well, one place to start might be youth hockey. What if we didn't let them start checking until they're a little older? Until they have the right technique and their bodies are ready.
Makes sense to me. You wouldn't give a brand new driver a race car, right?
Exactly. Let them get the basics down first, the skating, the puck, handling, the game awareness, and then introduce checking when they're ready.
Build that foundation first. So once players get to those higher levels where checking is part of the game, what then?
Then maybe we get stricter with those penalties for dangerous or illegal checks.
Really crack down on those.
Yeah, show them that reckless play won't be tolerated.
Make them accountable for their actions. It's not just about the rules, though, is it? Training plays a big part, too. Oh, absolutely. What if we included injury prevention exercises right in their regular practices?
Like what kind of exercises?
Balance training, strengthening their necks, even practicing how to fall safely. Those things can really help.
Give them those tools to handle the physical part of the game.
Right, and react in those moments where an injury could happen.
And the mental side is important, too, isn't it?
Huge. Being aware of your surroundings, anticipating contact, making smart decisions under pressure, that's all part of it.
It's not just about being strong, it's about being smart.
Exactly. We need those smart players who can make those split-second decisions to avoid getting hurt. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want our listeners to know that injuries don't have to be a given in hockey.
There's hope.
We can do something about it. We've seen the data, we've talked about the risks, and we've explored solutions. And the message is clear. If we make safety a priority, if we're proactive about preventing injuries, and if we all work together, players, coaches, researchers, everyone, we can make hockey safer.
And more fun for everyone. Exactly. This deep dive has given me a lot to think about, and I hope it's done the same for you, our listeners. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of hockey injuries. Stay curious, stay engaged, and stay safe out there on the ice.
Thanks for tuning in to the Science of Hockey. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share it with your friends, teammates, or anyone who loves hockey as much as you do. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment to let us know what you liked, what you'd like to hear next, or any questions you have. Your feedback helps us make the show even better. Until next time, keep your skates sharp, your mind open, and keep chasing the science behind the game.